Unit 1, Plant and Animal Life. Chapter 1, More about Plants. We all know that our Earth is the only planet which supports life. However, for life to go on, all living things must produce more of their kind. That is, they must reproduce. Thus, reproduction becomes an important process of the continuity of life on the Earth. Reproduction in plants is important not only for them but for animals and human beings also. Reproduction in plants. We see a variety of plants in our surroundings. Plants and animals reproduce to produce more of their kind. The process is known as reproduction. Plants reproduce in many ways, from seeds, from different parts of the plant. Growing plants from seeds. Most plants bear flowers. Flowers grow into fruits. Fruits contain seeds inside them. Some fruits have only one seed in them, while some others have a large number of seeds. Structure of a seed. Although seeds of different plants may differ in size, shape, and color, they have parts which are common. The seeds have a hard covering called the seed coat. It protects the seed from being damaged. Do you know what is inside a seed? Soak a few bean seeds for 2 to 3 days. Observe the soaked bean seeds. You will notice that the seed coat has become soft. You will see seed leaves. The seed leaves inside a seed are called cotyledons. These cotyledons contain all the food supply for the baby plant. Seeds with two cotyledons are called dicotyledons or dicot seeds. For example, kidney beans. A corn seed has only one cotyledon and is called monocotyledons or monocot seeds. Once open the cotyledons, the baby plant inside it is called embryo. The embryo has a shoot and a root. The shoot later on grows out of the ground into the stem and the roots spread under the ground. Germination of a seed. Most plants grow from seeds, but all the seeds do not grow into plants. Only ripe and healthy seeds, which get all the favorable conditions, grow into new plants. Germination is the process by which a seed produces a baby plant or seedling in the presence of water, air, or warmth. If any one condition is missing, the seeds will not germinate. Sci fact: Cocodemur is a native palm of the Cyclades island, which bears the largest seed in the entire plant kingdom. Activity time. Take 3 bean seeds. Mark them as seed A, B, and C. Tie them at different levels on a glass plate as shown in the figure. Put the plate with the bean seeds inclined inside a beaker, half filled with water for 2 to 3 days. The plate should be placed in such a way that the seed fixed in the middle remains half immersed. The embryo root pushes the seed coat. It grows down into the soil and forms the root. The cotyledons are pulled upwards. The baby plant, called seedling, starts coming out of the cotyledons. The stem grows longer and the leaves appear first. When the leaves develop completely, the cotyledons fall off. Later, the branches, buds, flowers, and fruits appear. The process of germination is thus completed. Seed dispersal. Plants cannot move from one place to another. So, if all seeds fall and germinate near the parent plant, they would not get enough sunlight, air, water, minerals, and space to grow. Because of this, many seedlings would not survive. Hence, nature helps to scatter these seeds. The process of scattering of seeds of fruits away from the parent plant is called dispersal. Seeds are carried away from the parent plant to far off places by wind, water, animals, or explosion of fruits. Wind, water, and animals are called the agents of dispersal. Dispersal by wind. Some seeds are carried away to a new place by the wind. These seeds are very light in weight, like seeds of the orchid, which are as light as dust. Some seeds are hairy, like seeds of dandelion and milkweed. These hair growths act as little parachutes which carry the seeds far away from the parent plant. The seeds of maple and elm trees have wings so that they can be easily carried away by the wind. Dispersal by water. The seeds or fruits of plants that grow in or near flowing water gets dispersed by water. The coconut has a fibrous outer covering. It has air trapped between its fibers. The lotus has a spongy fruit. These features enable them to float on water. Dispersal by animals. Some seeds have hooks, spines, or stiff hair. These help the seeds to stick to the hair in the bodies of animals. Animals, feathers, or birds are also to our clothes. These seeds are then carried from one place to another. Birds and some animals often swallow seeds while feeding on fruits, such as berries. The seeds then come out of their waste. Seeds also get dispersed when we eat fruits such as mango, papaya, and melon and throw away the seed. Dispersal by explosion. Some plants have pods that explode when ripe and shoot out their seeds to different places. Pea and bean plants also keep their seeds in a pod. When seeds become ripe and the pod dries, it bursts open to scatter the pea and bean seeds. Reproduction from different parts of plants. In most plants, new plants grow from seeds. In some cases, however, new plants can also grow from different parts of the parent plant, such as roots, leaves, or stems. Reproduction from roots. Sweet potato and carrot are roots that store food. When replenited, these roots grow into new plants. Is planted into the soil, new shoots grow from the buds on the very cutting. Money plant and strawberry too grow from stem cuttings. Potato and ginger plants have underground stems. They have small buds on them. When a portion of the stem is planted in the soil, new plants grow from these buds. Onion and garlic plants have underground stems called bulbs. New plants grow from these bulbs. Activity time. Take a piece of potato which has tiny buds. Bury it in the soil near your house. After a few days, you will see a new plant growing from it. Sci fact. Squirrels collect nuts which they hide for winter. However, they often forget where they have buried the nuts. Later on, these nuts may grow into trees. Reproduction from leaves. In some plants, such as bryophytes, Fills. These materials can be reused directly or recycled and then reused. Rubber. Used tires can be cut into shapes of swing seats, climbing frames, and rubber slippers or chappals. Rubber tubes are also used to make jewelry items like beads, rings, and bracelets. Old truck tires are recycled to make playground surfaces, pencil pouches, and diary covers. Metal. Metal objects thrown away by people can be reused. People buy pipes, rods, and gates from scrap dealers for reuse as they are cheap. Have you seen leftover metal sheets with holes used to make racks and cages? Craftsmen buy and melt pieces in jewelry. Every new car has some recycled part of an old car. Empty aluminium cans are cleaned, shredded, melted, and reshaped into new cans for reuse. Sci fact: deforestation and unnecessary killing of animals threaten the life of both. We need to grow more trees. Celebrating one Mahotsav every year is one way of doing so. The Chipko movement in Garhwal and the Apiko movement in Karnataka are some efforts to protect trees. Similarly, we should protect our environment. Chapter 16: Natural Disasters. When our life is in harmony with nature, things seem to be smooth and pleasant. When living things on earth become victims of nature's fury, we say that a natural disaster has happened. Natural disasters may destroy a part of life and property. Some such disasters which might affect our lives are earthquakes, volcanoes, tidal waves, and drought. Earthquakes. An earthquake is a sudden shaking of the ground caused by movements or vibrations deep inside the earth. These vibrations release great energy and can cause the ground to quiver. Earthquakes of high intensity often cause great destruction on the earth's surface. The earth's upper layer, the crust, is made of large and small plates. The layers of the earth under the plates are hot and in molten state because the core below is extremely hot. These layers under the plates are constantly moving. Usually, such movements cause the plates to slide smoothly against each other. However, at times the movements between the plates can be sudden, giving rise to earthquakes. When the ground shakes, houses, buildings, and bridges shake. When an earthquake lasts for some time, structures shatter, roads crack, and communication systems collapse. There is loss of life and property. Earthquakes are measured on the Richter scale. This scale was invented by Charles Richter in 1935. The Richter scale starts from magnitude 1 and upward. Earthquakes of magnitude 1 to 2 can hardly be felt, but those of 3 and 4 can be felt. The ones that measure 5 or 6 cause major damage. Earthquakes generate waves that travel all over the earth. They can be detected with an instrument called a seismograph. People who study earthquakes are called seismologists. They try to predict earthquakes so that the people likely to be affected have time to move to a safer place. The seismograph consists of a frame, a spring, a stone, a drum, paper, and a pen. As the earth trembles, the spring moves the pen over the paper wrapped on the drum. This reading or pattern obtained on the paper is called a seismogram. Volcanoes. The word volcano comes from the name Vulcan, the Roman god of fire. A volcano is an opening on the earth's surface which allows hot molten rock, ash, and gases to escape from below the surface. These burst out of the crust through a vertical tunnel called a vent. This hot molten rock is called lava. The lava spreads over the land, sometimes covering an entire region. When lava is below the earth's surface, it is called magma. Some volcanoes are formed under the sea. When the lava cools down, the earth formed looks like a new island. Based on the nature of eruptions, volcanoes can be active, dormant, or extinct. Volcanoes that have erupted in recent years and may erupt again any time are called active volcanoes. Many active volcanoes can be found in the Pacific area. Famous active volcanoes include Mount Vesuvius, Mount Etna, Mount Erebus, and Mount Fuji. The Barren Land is the only active volcano in the Indian subcontinent. It is located in the Andaman and Nicobar Island. Volcanoes that have not erupted in recent years but may erupt in the future are called dormant volcanoes. Volcanoes which have stopped erupting are called extinct volcanoes. Tidal waves. Tidal or storm waves are known as tsunamis, pronounced tsunami. A tsunami is caused by an undersea earthquake or by a severe hurricane or cyclone. Storm waves from the sea came rolling towards the shore. They caused destruction on the seashore within seconds. Tidal waves as high as 15 meters have been recorded. If there is already a high tide, then storm waves hit the land. They can cause severe damage. These giant waves travel at a speed of 800 km per hour. This results in destruction of life and property in the area. On 26 December 2004, an earthquake measuring 9.0 on the Richter scale hit off the coast of Indonesia. It triggered a massive tsunami that resulted in widespread death and destruction across South Asia. These were over 150,000 dead across 11 countries, with Indonesia, Sri Lanka, India, and Thailand being among the hardest hit. Over 5 million people became homeless. Drought. If a particular area receives no rain or less rain than normal for a long period, it is said to be affected by drought. However, it is not only the lack of rainfall that causes drought. Hot, dry winds, very high temperature, and evaporation of moisture from the ground can result in conditions of drought. Drought affected areas. People have to wait for help to come in the form of food, water, and medicines from neighboring places or international agencies. India has faced three major droughts in the 20th century: 1904 to 05, 1965 to 66, and 1986 to 87. The 1987 drought was known as the drought of the century and had a major impact on one third of the country.